Hey, welcome back to the channel. So we're out on the bikes today, and in this video I'm going to talk you through 4 tips that will help improve your climbing, and I've got a bit of a fitness twist with every single one of these. So these tips will not only help you improve climbing from a technical standpoint, but they'll also tie in so you can really see how they help you conserve your energy and just keep more energy through the climb so that you can get to the top with much more energy and finish all the right climbs. So I hope you really enjoy these tips. There's 4 of them coming up. Before you watch it, make sure you subscribe and also turn on those notifications. So tip 1, and this is a really important one, is to make sure when you're on a climb, look as far ahead as is humanly possible. I know when I first got into riding, I had an obsession with looking just ahead of my front wheel. And what happens when you do that is you can't see what's coming up ahead of you. I'm going to actually show you a really good example on the trail here of why that's so important. So I'm just next to here, a nice simple stair set. There's 4 steps on it. If you get a run up with it, it's fine. You fly straight up like you'll see me. But if you take your time and you're sort of looking at your front wheel and then before you know it you hit it, then suddenly you hit the steps and it's a complete shock and you can't get up it. And I'll show you what that looks like as well when I kind of notice it within a couple of seconds and don't have any time to react. So when you are on any kind of climb, you want to make sure you're looking right up ahead at the trail. So look as far ahead as you can and just plan what's coming up. So what you can do is you can look and think, right, there's an obstacle there, there's a steep bit of climb there, and then you can pace yourself based on what's happening. So if I know that these steps are coming up and I've spotted it 20-30 meters away, then I'm conserving my energy, I'm getting in the right gear, and I'm planning what I'm going to do. And then when I get up to them, I know that they're coming and I'm going to attack and hit straight up to them. So it's really important that you look ahead, see what's coming. If you don't, you'll end up hitting it and struggle to get over that obstacle. But as well as that, it's also going to take a lot more energy out of you, because when you do see an obstacle and plan ahead, I'm going to talk about this in point 2, but you can plan the most efficient line through it so it takes the least energy. You'll often find that riders who aren't as good technically at climbing will get a lot more out of breath because they're just hitting everything and bouncing off every rock and choosing all the least efficient lines. So you can have a look at kind of these videos and see the big difference that it makes. So when you've mastered the first tip of looking right ahead down the trail so you can see what's coming, the second tip is to spot which is the most efficient line. Now this makes a huge difference. If you're not looking ahead and then you're not using that sort of knowledge that you've gained from looking down the trail to pick what's the best line, what's the smoothest line, what's the easiest line, then it'll massively drain your energy. You'll find that if you are getting over obstacles, it'll take a ton more out of you, and if not, you'll just end up hitting stuff like I did before on those steps and not being able to clear it. So this is a really great example just on this little trail here. So on the left we've got a silky smooth, really easy to ride section, and on the right we've got a bit of a gully with loads of rocks. You're going to struggle for traction in there. It's going to be dead energy inefficient, and it's going to really you're going to really struggle to get up it. And then if we look a little bit further down the trail, you'll notice that after this smooth section in this gully, it then gets really rocky. And if we spot the best line, we've got a nice smooth section up here, and then you can pop straight up here. Now that's going to be the easiest line, but if we're not looking ahead and planning that line, you might end up in all these big rocks. You'll end up on the trickier section here, and you're going to struggle to get over it. So if you've spotted your line way down there and you're picking the most efficient route through, it'll make a huge difference to not only whether or not you clear the section, but also how much energy it takes out of you and how much energy you've got for those further sections of trail. So tip 2 is to make sure that you look ahead and spot the most efficient lines up the hill, up the trail. So I'm in a dead easy gear here. I've picked the smoothest line that there is, picking the nice easy way, looking at this obstacle. And when you get to it, just go straight over and away. So this time I'm looking down, I'm not planning ahead. I'm in the wrong gear, I'm right in the bottom gear, and then up, I'm in the tough, tricky bit. So now I've got a bit of a challenge on my hands because it's mega rocky, and I've got to try, and I've not made it. Just too rocky if I'm not looking ahead and I'm not planning to get over this section. I mean, this is a rocky bit of trail, the rocks are about that big. The only way I'm cleaning this, if I have to be in this difficult bit, is in the right gear with some momentum to get me up. And because I've not looked ahead, because I've not planned that in advance, I've hit it and failed there. So it's so important to pick that smoothest line. You saw how much easier that first one was. You just fly straight up with no hassle. Tip number 3 is to chill out. You ride so much better when you're relaxed and you're not really tense on the bike. And that's just as important on climbs as it is on the descents. When you're on like a particularly technical trail, you want to relax and let the bike move around a bit. You'll find that if you're like really holding the bars tight, the wheel's got nowhere to go, so it's just going to bounce off every rock. Whereas what you want to focus on the climbs, if you find yourself tensing, particularly on the technical stuff, just relax your grip a bit. Probably saw my shoulders drop then. Just really ease off. Most of the weight is on your feet, not on your hands, so just chill. And look how much more easily the bike turns with very little effort compared to tensing and having to move my whole body just to get a little bit of movement. And you can see how much more out of breath I am talking as well. Like if I'm just talking to you and I'm nice and relaxed, my breathing is really chilled out, whereas if I'm tensing up, it's actually really hard to talk to you. And obviously when you're on a big jock off climb, you need to be able to breathe, you need to be able to like get deep breaths. The more you tense up, the more knackered that you're going to get. So focus on relaxing and breathing on the climbs, and only when you get to some of the sort of tricky bits that you need to tense, you need to create some tension in your upper body, that's when you tense for short periods of time, like when I was attacking those steps before. The rest of the time, relax and chill out. And that actually brings me really nicely onto tip 4. Tip number 4 leads really nicely back on from tip number 3, and that is to focus on controlling your breathing and breathing well. So one really common mistake I see with riders, you see it all the time when you're out at a trail centre, is you breathe really hard. I remember once I was riding at Gisborne Forest, and for anyone that's been there, there's a really steep minging climb that connects the two parts of the 8. And this guy, as soon as he got to, I was riding like sort of next to him, as soon as he got to a steep bit, he started to really breathe heavy, so he was riding along and all of a sudden it got steep and he was like and within 30 seconds the guy was goosed, and it wasn't his fitness, it was just bad technique with his breathing. In reality what he should have been doing was really taking deep breaths. So when he was taking short shallow breaths, he was only breathing from his chest up here. So you can probably see my chest moving around. Now that doesn't let you get as much oxygen in. I'm sat here doing nothing except talking and I'm starting to get out of breath. What you want to do when you're particularly on a climb, is focus on breathing deep and breathing through your stomach from your diaphragm. So when you're on the bike and you're on a climb, you're taking deep breaths and you're letting your stomach come in and out. Now obviously I'm exaggerating that, I don't do it on the trail so like a moron. But you'll notice that like I'm really breathing from my stomach and my stomach is coming in and out. And what that allows is for your lungs to get a really deep breath and get a load of oxygen in and a load of oxygen out. And only when you get to the really most difficult parts of the trail, maybe when at Gisborne Forest I'm getting tired at that like top tricky section, that's when you might start taking some controlled breaths. And that'd be more like pursed lips. You're only doing that for a short period of time, but I find when I am getting knackered, if I just purse my lips and just focus on forcing that breath in and out, it lets me get that bit further. But that's only when you're up to that last 5% of energy, that last 10% of energy when you're trying to dig out. For the rest of pretty much any climb, deep breaths, focus on that tip 3 which is relaxing, and that'll help you breathe better as well. Just those, if you don't even do tip 1 and 2 and you do tip 3 and 4 and you relax, consciously relax and focus on deep breaths, you'll be amazed how much further you get on the climbs without getting out of breath. So they're really, really important. So I hope you enjoyed this first video. This is the first time me and Ben, my videographer, shout out to Kit Crotsco, has managed to get out and actually film some videos out on the bike. It's been really good. If you have enjoyed this type of video, please just leave a comment, and if you want to watch more MTB fitness videos, we're going to be doing loads of videos like this, then subscribe, turn on the notifications, and you can also watch one of the 2 videos that pops up here as well. Thanks so much.